Welcome to the Daily Brief. Here's what you need to know for today. The Biden administration recently reported more than 500,000 jobs were created last month and inflation is declining. I recently spoke with AVIVA Arondine. She's the White House Deputy Director of the National Economic Council. We discussed the rising employment numbers, the growing unhoused crisis, and how the report says inflation fell, but grocery prices and gas prices are still too high. Take a listen. Okay, so the employment numbers are up, unemployment is down, but the unhoused continue to climb. The unhoused numbers continue to climb, especially for people of color. What is the Biden administration doing to tackle that issue?
Sure. So the president is very focused on issues of housing costs and affordability. That's why he's pushed policies that would increase housing supply, would encourage state and local governments to remove barriers to building affordable housing, and would invest in the housing choice voucher program so that people get the help they need to be able to afford housing, as well as other policies to try to address homelessness and challenges that families face in affording rent or homes.
The report says inflation fell, but when we go to the grocery store, eggs are $6 a dozen, and prices are just extremely high. What's your response to the numbers that are being reported versus what Americans are really experiencing?
That's a great question. When we look at inflation and we look for progress on inflation, we look to see the rate of inflation slowing, and that is what we are seeing. We've now seen it consistently for months, and that is starting to bear fruit for families in that people's real wages, their earnings adjusted for inflation, are rising again. So that's progress. That said, the president is very focused on the fact that inflation remains too high, and more important, the real cost to families of some of the most critical things they need are too high. Mm-hmm. And that's why the president fought to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, which is lowering costs for things like prescription drugs, energy bills, and health insurance premiums. And he's going to keep pushing to make sure that we keep making progress in bringing down inflation economy-wide and also in helping families afford the.
For the latest in Black news, you want to head on over to lasentinel.net and be sure to check out the Daily Brief wherever podcasts can be found. I'm Niele Anderson, and you have just been debriefed.